Hey guys, welcome to week 2. This is week 2's assessment. This is a self-critique and the design process. I'm going to show you how to tackle this assignment. It's got quite a lengthy list of requirements, so make sure you read the instructions very carefully. You will be using Microsoft Word to write out your 650-word paper. You'll need at least a minimum of 650 words to make your assignment look decent in InDesign and to fill the page. You're going to create a 2-page document in InDesign, so let's start with that. I've got InDesign pulled up here. Now, to create a basic InDesign document, you're going to need to go to File at the top of your screen, click on New Document, and it'll pull up a new document box here. And then this is very similar to Illustrator, where you'll set the width and height to 8.5 by 11 inches. Please make sure your units is set to inches as well. Go ahead and name it something that you'll remember it. DES Assignment 2, and then your first and last name. All right, set the pages to 2 here, and then you can deselect facing pages. We don't need that box checked. Everything else can stay the same, gutter, columns, everything. And actually including, let's change columns to 2 just to help us lay out our content a little nicer. Hit create. And there you have it. So you see your columns and that nice pretty gutter that will separate our text box and our columns for us. All right, so first things first, you're going to need a headline. This is where you're going to grab your type tool, and at the top, because it's following the laws of hierarchy, we want this to be the largest element on the page. So this is headline title here, and then you can format your type however you'd like. I'm going to go to change the case to all uppercase, and then I'm going to pull down I'm going to go to Window, type in Tables, and click on Character. This will pull up my character box here, and this is where I can change the formatting of my font, or the font family, or the font weight. So in this case, I'm going to choose Helvetica, do a nice sans serif headline. I'm going to change the weight to bold, and then the size, I'm just going to fill in that text box as much as I can. There we go. So a nice big bold headline at the top. Next thing you're going to want to do is click on your type tool, click and draw a smaller text box. Here is going to be where we're going to include our byline. So this will be by you, whatever your name is. First, last name goes here. I'm going to choose the Helvetica font that I was using before. This time I'm going to use regular as a good contrast for that big, bold headline. I'm going to have my byline be a smaller and a lighter font. All right, next element you're going to need is the type tool again, and you're going to click and drag a text box from the top of your, basically underneath your headline, so right here, and then you're going to click and drag another text box starting at your gutter, leaving that gutter space and only extending it from one margin or one purple line to the next. And then, so you see here, I've got 2 text boxes. And what we're going to do, a little trick here. So with this text box selected, if you'll notice at the bottom, I'm going to click on this larger anchor point. It's kind of bottom right. And then I'm going to click anywhere in that next text box. And what that does is it links up the text boxes. And this is going to be helpful when we are trying to flow text in. All right. So next thing you're going to want to do, see if I can find. Okay, you're going to want to make sure your smart guides are on. You're also going to want to make sure that things snap into place, so snap to guides, and then show baseline grid. You won't need baseline. Actually, I'm not going to get into the baseline grid, but you will need to have your smart guides turned on. Okay, so with this text box selected, go to File and hit Place, and then find your Word document that you saved it on, or you can copy and paste into InDesign if you'd like. For this demo, I'm just going to go to type and fill it with some placeholder text because for sake of time and formatting. So you'll need to fill up your 2 columns here, and then There's a few other extras you could do to make this nice and appealing to look like an actual article. For the body copy, what I recommend is sticking to something no more than 12-point font, but no less than 8-point font. So I kind of find a nice happy medium there. I'm going to use a 10-point font. All right, and then if you have paragraphs, you'll want to either do a hard return or indent your paragraphs, okay? And I would not do both. So don't do this. That's a no-no. Either hit a hard return or indent, and you can change the indentation right up here under your paragraph formatting controls. But right now, I'm going to take off the indent. I'm just going to do a hard return. All right, so here I go. Just kind of giving these hard return. Now, if you have subtitles that you'd like to include, that would make this look even nicer. So for instance, you could do subtitle here, and the subtitle would probably be formatted just a little bit differently. I'm going to change it to the Helvetica. So for contrast in this article, I am going to use bold and regular fonts to try to make things stand out a little bit. So I've bolded the subtitle. You can even maybe give it a color if you wanted to. If you're feeling saucy, I'm going to add red here. Red and black is a classic color combination, so I'm going to use this here. And then you could put subtitles throughout if you feel the need. Another thing you can do is change or add a drop cap here. So by a drop cap is when you highlight the first letter of the beginning of your article. You don't do it to every paragraph, it's only once. You can find the formatting under your paragraph formatting controls, your character formatting controls, or you can go to Window and go to Type in Tables, click on Character, and it brings up your character box right here. You should find your drop cap. Let's see. Not seeing it. Might be under paragraph actually. So let's go to paragraph. There we go. It's under the paragraph. So right here is where you're going to increase. Let me highlight it, see if it'll do the trick. There we go. It wasn't registering. Okay, there you go. So I wouldn't go more than 3 lines big, but this is a way to kind of say, hey reader, this is where you start. So this is a pretty simple way to lay out your article. All 650 words should display on one page only. Do not overlap it to the second page, please. If you see this plus sign, this red plus line here at the bottom where my arrow is pointing, that means that there is more text that you cannot see. And so that means you have more text over here that needs to be filled. So what I would do, I would either make your font smaller. Another thing you can do is highlight your text, and under your paragraph formatting controls here, you can deselect the box hyphenate. That's another good way to keep things from dangling. And then if you see these little widows, these one-word danglers off of a paragraph, you can adjust that. You can highlight the paragraph and kind of either kind of adjust the tracking a little bit, and the tracking can be done in your character formatting controls. We'll just kind of bump it down a little bit. It kind of brings up those lines. Another thing you can do is maybe get rid of a subtitle or shorten a paragraph. All right, so those are some things to keep in mind. This is all you'll need. If you hit W on your keyboard, it will take off the Smart Guide view and it'll show you what it would look like if you were to print it. I'm going to be looking for space between the gutter. I don't want text boxes touching. I'm going to look for even amount of space around your page. I don't want there to be staggered. I don't want text close to the bottom. I want everything to look even. So a good rule of thumb is to kind of stay within that magenta box there, that margin line, and make sure that there's plenty of elbow room, even amount of space around the page. You want your byline, your headline, maybe a drop cap and some subtitles if you have them. And then on page 2 is where you're going to place your ad. So you don't have to do it terribly big. You can either click and drag it if you're on a Mac, or you can just place it, go to File, Place, or Draw Frame. and this is where you're going to put your ad for reference, okay? So this is what it should look like when you're all done. It should be pretty simple if you've ever laid out in InDesign before. If you get stuck, let me know. Have fun with this assignment, and I look forward to seeing it.